Hi, my name is Phoebe Goh. That's my favourite emoji because I feel like it represents me. I have 2 cats and I work at a company called NetApp, which is known for a couple of things such as storage and data management. So a couple of things I heard about a lot during this conference and I've talked to customers about recently include how do we be more agile? How do we make sure that our container ecosystems and our microservices are future-proof? Security is obviously a big one. How do we be more efficient and how do we be more flexible? And I always stand there and I think to myself, why aren't we talking about storage? It's because storage is boring. Like, it is really boring. Any storage administrator will tell you it's the last thing that they really go home and get excited about. But data, on the other hand, actually is, right? Data is why we are creating these applications and why we're trying to be more efficient and more agile, because these are our businesses that we're running. So, by default, containers, as we know, are ephemeral, but your business is not. And so at some point, even if you are really, really good at writing 12-fact applications, and I know there are plenty out there that do, but for a lot of businesses, the data is just going to be really important and they need to hold on to some of it. And that might be different types of data. So obviously there's config data, there's state data, there's instance data like Scratch locations or temp locations, and there's shared data like databases or things that you need multiple containers to access. And while you may treat a lot of those differently or think of them differently, a lot of the time we end up just sharing whatever's on localhost, and we end up just saying, well, it's close enough, it's good enough. So we have to think about how that data is important when something like a host goes down, or if we need to do something different to it, or we need to treat it differently because it's holding something important to us or to our business. The second thing I wanted to talk about is kind of how you actually access and provision that data. At the moment, you might be doing persistent volume claims, somebody's creating a PV, you're creating a PVC. At some point, you're hoping that you're all lined up and you've done your capacity management properly and you've got the right kind of storage and the right kind of data in the back end that's actually keeping up the requirements and to the demand. And you may have automated all of this, but it's kind of still, let's make sure that we've got all our stuff together. Why isn't it more dynamic? Why are we still provisioning stuff like we're in 2007? Why are we still using local storage and complaining when we run out of space? So I think part of what's really in the future, or what we're doing at NetApp, is around helping customers do on-demand and automating some of the persistent volumes through dynamic PVs, and making sure that we're getting the right level of performance. So making sure that those PVCs with your storage class backend is actually getting the right kind of performance on the backend. And that's kind of important too. Of course, security, I have to talk about it because I think there's a sense that the security on the storage is either the first thing you think about and it's stopped your entire process because you're stuck on security, or you just don't think about it at all. And finally, there's around the managing of data, and that's around protecting it, because it is the most important thing that you've got. It is your business. It's all the information and all the IP that you have. So why don't we talk more about protecting that data and making sure that we're definitely backing it up and be able to restore it the same way. So things like leveraging storage snapshots, storage erase level snapshots like we do on premise, we should be doing when we're running containers in the cloud. And this should be really easy and completely invisible to the developers doing it. It should be, yes, I need this to be backed up, and yes, I need to restore it from a point in time. I guess a lot of these problems have been solved already. What I see, or what I find when I'm talking to people about containers, is that it kind of feels like a too hard problem again, and I get frustrated, I guess, a little bit that we haven't kind of brought all this knowledge from our past into what we're working on now. The traditional methods of backing up file systems. I just don't know why we're still talking about doing SQL dumps when we could be taking snapshots. And it's kind of funny because when we're in a container environment where we are scaling really rapidly, we need to make sure that all the data management behind it is also scaling quickly too. So And there's one, I guess I've got 5 seconds left. So I don't want to talk about our product, so I'm going to close that. But if you do have comments on data management, please come and talk to me. I'd love to understand and hear what you guys are talking about and thinking about in that space.